1. Ding! Well, hello, friends, and welcome to Fishing with Dynamite, a podcast produced by Radio Heart Media and hosted by me, Mark Guiney.
And me, Paul Beatty. And we're just two guys standing in front of a pervasive evil, refusing to surrender our joy as we focus the chi of righteousness and yell in unison, Hami Kami Ha!
I never actually watched that show.
I didn't really either, but I watched people pretend to be him and dress up as him at like Comic-Con type things.
Oh, okay. This is our podcast about the joy of living the Christian life, and we are on episode 5 of a 12-part series on evangelization.
1, 2, 3.
And today we're talking about hard conversations. We're going to go on a little journey today together, actually.
We're going to be serious.
Field trip. We're going on a field trip. But before we do, we need to get in the zone.
Oh, okay.
And how do we get in the zone for resolving conflict?
Yes.
By having some conflict. So this is a Rock'em Sock'em robot set that I purchased from a store, and it turns out you can still get these. They started making them in 1964.
Really?
That's what it says. Scoring knockouts since 1964. The original fighting robots.
They're older than I am. Who would have known? Plastic is older than I am.
So
had no idea.
I assembled them here. The idea is to knock the other guy's block off.
When you're old, you have to warm up. Are we ready?
I think we're ready.
Should we do a countdown?
Yes, we should do a countdown.
Okay.
Okay, ready? 3, 2.
Wait, is it on one or is it one and then go?
I think it's ding. It's ding.
On the ding.
I'm too far from the bell. I ring the bell.
On the bell.
Ready? 3, 2, 1. Ding!
I'm trying. Well done.
So today, we want to talk about having hard conversations in the course of evangelization. That's our whole shtick today. It's hard conversations, this conflict, right?
Yes.
Because when we talk about anything having to do with truth, capital T, truth,
yes,
right? We're talking about people hold very different beliefs, right? And so that leads to conflict. And so I was thinking about the best way to do this, and I got in touch with a lady who was on the podcast in season 1, Lori Cassio, who works with Students for Life of America. She's a regional coordinator, and she trains people in pro-life issues, obviously in like communicating the truth to other people.
Right.
That's her whole shtick. And so I invited her, talked to her about coming on, and she was like, oh, you know what, actually, like a week from now, we're going to be down in Washington, D.C. at the Supreme Court protesting, or not protesting, but demonstrating at the oral arguments, like the opening oral arguments, for a Supreme Court case called NIFLA versus Becerra.
That's right.
Are you familiar with NIFLA versus Becerra?
A little bit.
Okay. Can you give us the run? Like,
So the basic rundown, as I understand it, is that the glorious state of California and all of its wisdom has passed a law that says if you're going to have a crisis pregnancy center situation. So California said, if you're going to do this, we don't want to confuse people who might be seeking an abortion. So you have to provide information, I don't know, on the wall or hand out to people as well, or what have you.
I believe it had to be posted on the wall of your waiting room.
Telling them that A, you don't perform abortions, and B, here are places you can go to get abortions.
Right. I went down there and had some conversation with people and asked them about how they handle having these difficult conversations with people in their lives. So roll the tape.
Yeah.
Jerry, roll the tape. Jerry.
I work for Students for Life of America, and I'm from West Virginia. And we're here in front of the Supreme Court on this lovely, warm, and not rainy day. Haha.
It's really nice. It's really nice.
To be here and witness for the Supreme Court case NIFLA versus Becerra, we are here supporting pregnancy centers in California who are forced to provide resources and phone numbers for patients to get free abortions.
Now, obviously, this is a little bit of a contentious issue, right? So people feel very strongly about this.
How do you approach these conversations? Like, do you ever have to have conversations about what you believe with people who maybe don't agree with you?
Yeah, I don't know, just try to come at it like in a way that they'll understand, I guess.
Sure.
And not try to make it like you're attacking them. Like, don't try to like be patronizing or anything. Like, know better. Just
But aren't you though? Like when you're like going after somebody's beliefs, aren't you attacking them?
No,
No?
no.
You don't think so?
You can separate the voice from the person.
Well, this case is really about free speech,
Okay.
and it's the right of every American to decide what messages they promote, and that's something that really should unite us all. No matter what you believe about abortion issues, this is something that really needs to unite every American because it protects every American.
Definitely. So you find like common ground in those cases.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Definitely very gently.
Yeah.
Yeah. Try to approach them as a friend, just someone who's concerned for their well-being.
Sure. Have you ever had to have a conversation like that?
Yes. Yeah. A
Yeah.
couple
Like,
times.
can you think of like a specific time or a specific like I don't know instance? Like you don't have to like.
Oh, I got a
name
good
it.
one.
You
I got
do?
a
Do you
good
have
one. It was actually the day of the Students for Life conference back in January.
Yeah.
And me and my sister were like battling it out on Instagram with this person and her friend. Totally on the other side of this argument, and she eventually had to go to like 7 other different arguments, and we shot her down on all of them.
Wow. Do you think she was moved at all by that?
No, probably not.
Okay, so in regards to this case, even stepping into the shoes of the pro-choice side for a moment, if abortion was not immoral, for example, I think it's still a clear-cut violation of the First Amendment to require someone to violate their conscience.
Sure.
Especially a nonprofit. I mean, anyone really. I mean, requiring someone to say something that violates their conscience is, quite frankly, Orwellian.
Yeah.
And anti-American. Honestly, it's opposed to the freedom that this country is founded upon. In regards to the abortion issue in general, I tend to approach it from the perspective of we know that the embryo is a human life. That's a scientific fact that even abortionists will agree with. And ending the human life is wrong. I'm not as well versed in this issue as my wife, who you should definitely talk to down there.
Sure.
But I think starting from a scientific perspective of what we know is the best grounding to then have that conversation on.
Yeah. I always kind of take the person and kind of talk to them about where, kind of where they're at. So whatever the questions are that they're having. So like a lot of my friends probably won't ask me about this particular case, for example. But if I'm talking to them about the pro-life issue, about abortion in general, then I will talk to them about the science. You can hear that?
I think you always start with the shared goal of best promoting human dignity and human life. And if you really think about it, once you cheapen human life at the beginning, throughout life, it's going to be cheapened, and you can get into hundreds of other issues, social issues, where life is cheapened. So you really want to start at the beginning and be consistent throughout in promoting. When you start protecting life at the beginning, it's much easier to focus on the other important life issues as well.
I think, to tell them, first of all, you have to find out what do they believe. Do they believe this is a life or not a life? And so science proves out that there is life starting at conception. And so I can explain that to them. And then the next question is, when is a life valuable? And so then you just talk about, what do they think? And if they say, well, once the baby's born, then it's valuable. So, why does that make it valuable? Does size or viability? Just finding out what they believe first and then working from there.
Do you think like social media has like helped or hurt your ability to have this conversation and conversations like it?
It's helped in some ways, but hurt in others. It's especially hurt in the way that you can just like, I'm done. Goodbye.
Yeah. Nice.
It definitely depersonalizes it.
Yeah.
Makes it hard to really convince somebody.
It's definitely helped. It definitely helps us reach more people, especially being mainly focused on students. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, all that definitely helps us get that message.
Sure.
Out.
And so, like, what are some like general guidelines that you would lay out in terms of communicating with people on this issue, or really any capital T truth issue on social media?
I would always start obviously with truth and respect. Respect that even someone who disagrees with you, they don't have bad motivations. They may just not have learned what you've learned. They may have not had the experiences you had. So, I mean, I went to a Jesuit school. There's a whole Jesuit idea of like meeting people where they're at.
Yeah.
So we always approach the idea of everyone will eventually be pro-life. You just have to meet people where they're at in their pro-life journey. So everyone is reachable. They may just not be there quite yet.
So, Paul.
Yes.
After watching that,
yes,
was there anything in there that stood out to you as like consistent or a theme?
Yes.
Or something that struck you?
Yeah. So a couple of the things, and a lot of it was a lot of what the folks were saying made a lot of sense. Is the not necessarily trying to be aggressive and confrontational when you're talking to someone. I kind of liked the Jesuit referencing guy at the end, which hurt me. But you do have to, in the whole concept of meeting people where they are on an issue, I really liked philosophically or theologically or whatever it was, the idea that everybody is saved, but they're just not there yet. Of course, we know that's not really true.
I have a list of questions.
So it's more of a philosophy, I
had
guess.
a list of questions for you.
Yeah, that was cute.
That was one of them. Like, what do you think about that guy? Like, so what he said was that everybody's pro-life, they're just not there yet.
Right.
Was he right? Do you think he's right?
No, because there are people who are going to reject God, who are going to reject a virtue, who are going to reject, Jesus and all of that, and they're not going to be pro-life. They're very anti-life, and they will be because they choose Satan.
And you would say the same thing. You would say the same thing, more generally speaking, because we're talking about evangelization in more general terms.
Right.
This is just a very black and white example of good versus evil. But,
sure.
You would say that for just like Catholicism in general, or for accepting Christ in general.
Yeah, there are some people who aren't going to do it. Now, that doesn't mean we don't try. Right. I mean, the whole Mother Teresa bit about, when they persecute you, do it anyway. When they're mean to you, pray for them anyway. I'm terribly paraphrasing, but the idea of we don't stop trying. But I mean, the reality is, I believe, I forget which saint talks about it and all the rest of it, but there are going to be people in hell. I mean, there are people who are going to reject life and Jesus and salvation and the whole package.
Right.
So, I mean,
but the good news about that, I suppose, is that it's not up to us.
It's not up to us, and we don't stop trying.
Right.
Just because because we don't know who's going to reject it.
Right.
And we may be completely surprised.
Sure.
By the people who come around.
Right.
So we're not. I'm not saying be a Calvinist.
Yeah.
I mean, some people are going to reject it, but we try anyway.
Sure.
Yeah.
And there was definitely like that spirit of, because the best evangelizers that I've always found.
Yeah.
Are the ones who prioritize relationship.
Yes.
Right. And that like comes up again and again.
Right.
Because if you don't care about people, then why? Like.
Right.
Then they just feel like used. Like you're just ticking a box.
Right.
Like for them. Like you
trying to get points or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're just trying to get Jesus points, doing whatever you're doing. There's this guy named Penn Jillette.
Yeah, I like him.
So Penn and Teller
they're
are
funny.
this Las Vegas primarily magic duo.
Right.
And they're funny. They're great. They're kind of this good, and they do some really funny tricks and all this sort of thing.
Right. Super atheist.
They are super atheist.
Yeah.
Just rabidly atheistic. But Penn Jillette does have some very interesting things.
Right.
And by the way, he said some very ugly things about the church and done
sure.
Great. So
right.
Google with caution.
Yeah, indeed. Yes.
But
indeed.
He did say, that he doesn't take offense when friends try to convert him.
Right.
Because what it demonstrates to him is that they care about him.
Right. Because if they really believe what they say about eternal life and what's good for people and all of that, then he would expect, if they like him, that they're going to try to give that to him.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I mean that, but what has to come first is the friendship.
Yes, that's true.
What has to come first is the friendship, and I think that's what a lot of these people got absolutely right.
Yes.
Was talking about like, you have to be a good friend first before you can.
When you're evangelizing and you're working on the whole changing hearts and changing minds thing, right? That's the only approach.
Yeah.
Now that said, that doesn't mean we shouldn't pass laws to protect the unborn and things of that nature, right? So it's a multi-pronged thing.
Yeah.
But right, when you're actually working with people and you're bringing people around and you're trying to explain to people how things work, they're not going to listen to you.
Yeah.
If you're just nasty. right off the bat.
Scott Anthony, I always think about this. So because we work in media and communicating things, and he said you had to earn the right to be heard. That was his episode, all about youth ministry. You have to earn the right to be heard. Yep. The other thing I think was common ground.
Yes.
So they talked a lot about common ground,
right?
And then like in this issue, our common ground is the fact that we're Americans and we prioritize certain political values,
right?
Basically, like the Bill of Rights, and sometimes those things do tend to shift a little bit.
Yeah.
In recent times,
with education being what it is.
Yep. But definitely for a lot of people, they just recognize that is kind of more fertile ground. Like starting from that, starting from places where we're much more likely to agree, makes things easier.
Well, even the idea of protecting a human life, most people are going to agree with. So, I mean, the pro-life discussion really comes down, I think, to a couple core scientific bits, more even than the religious bits.
Right. Because we're talking about truth here. So we're talking about, like, I think I almost, like, this conversation is almost all the same. We're talking about, like, abortion, but what we're talking about here is understanding and defending the truth. If you really like Fishing with Dynamite and you want to, you want more of us, why would you not?
Yes.
Then then you can become a patron on Patreon, patreon.com/fishingwithdynamite. There will be a link in the description. And as part of that, you get access to the Fishing with Dynamite post show, which is the show after the show.
That's where all the good, crazy things
go down in the post show. And then you also get some money off if you want to buy anything in the Fishing with Dynamite store. And then also you get involved in our free weekly drawings.
Yes, you do.
So every one of our Patreon supporters has a plastic fish with their name on it. So when they sign up to be a supporter, we put them in the bowl and then we fish one out.
And we go fishing
every week.
Ta-da!
So that we can send you some awesome free goodies. So every week you get in the drawing, which is great. So
yes, indeed.
We'd love to see you there. All right, friends. That is all for today. We're going to go ahead and sign off. We will see you next time. And I'm going to have to reach back here to get the bell, so hang on tight for a second.
Stand by.
Ite podcastum est, go in peace. Montani semper liberi. Need to get some Morocco or something. Jazz that up.